Did you know that there is a direct correlation with the wrists to the handicap and skill of a golfer? What I mean is, after tens of thousands of golf swings that have been recorded, we now know that there is a direct correlation to wrist positions. The worse a golfer is, the more extension they're going to have in their wrist at the top of the swing. What does that cause? Why is that a bad thing? Well, from here, it causes over the top, it causes flipping. But it's not because of the wrists. That's the occurrence. There's something happening before that, something that we can fix to make the swing much easier, much more reliable, and to give us one of the holy grails of a good golf swing is to have a flatter wrist here at the top of the backswing. That's a signifier that we have done some other things correctly. If, however, you are just focusing on getting the wrist to try and get that flat at the top without understanding why it's happening, you are going to get yourselves in a right pickle. And that's what happens to most golfers, because they're focused so much on minutia here. I've got to get this right, got to get this right, completely ignoring the overarching reasons why it occurs. This is because we are not rotating enough. It's not just about wrist extension here where we've got too much cupping going on. It's also notable to see when we have too much flexion, bowing of the wrist. Again, this isn't usually an occurrence of just an incorrect wrist pattern. That is an occurrence because something else is happening. And I'm going to use the Hackmotion device to emphasize exactly and prove what I'm showing. So I'm using the Hackmotion device. I'm loading it up on the app here. So putting it on our wrist, on the back of the wrist here, tightening the strap. And you can put this on a glove, but I'm just not bothering. Yeah, it's calibrated. Okay. The data from pros to amateurs, scanning thousands of shots from elite golf professionals on tour, and also tracking data from tens of thousands of golfers all across the globe, different ages, different abilities. There is, as I said, a direct correlation that the lower the handicap, the more neutral, the flatter the wrist is at the top of the swing. One of the worst things we see is actually having too much extension. But we don't want to just try and fix the extension like so. We want to have it flatter. But what's causing the extension? One of the main culprits is going to blow your mind. If I make a backswing where I am not rotating, where I'm kind of staying pretty static here, and I'm not allowing my legs, my hips, my whole entire movement to sort of rotate and clear out the way, what happens is I know that I have to sort of move the club somewhere back here to make a decent strike, to get any sort of power. But if I don't move my lower body, my upper body, and I just use arms, it's going to put me immediately into a cupped position. Too much extension. And I can try and do the same swing, but try and manipulate the wrists, okay? And that's where we start ending up getting into a bit of a pickle because, all right, I'm trying to get these wrists flat, but the same poor results are going to happen no matter what I try and do, even though my top of the backswing was correct, within range, more ideal. And you're still hitting weak, crappy shots. And you're like, what's going wrong? Well, to help understand that, let me show you what happens as well when we have too much flexion, too much bowing of the wrist here. You see, if I don't move the body and I move my arms up here, that's going to happen. It's very rare that I'm going to have too much flexion. What causes that is, again, not so much about rotation per se, but we're having too much extension. We're sort of getting a bit of a reverse pivot because we're aware that we're kind of stuck on the right side. We're in our own way. So we cheat a little bit. We move the club up and we get too much spine extension. We're lifting up and the wrist is more flexed. It's more bowed. So we've gone the opposite way here. Okay. And if you don't believe me, get up and try this with me. You don't even need a club. Take a setup. And I want you to make a backswing, but I want you to resist the lower body, resist the upper body, and move the arms back. And look where your arms go. They go to about here. And that is a very common place. If you feel that you're lifting up this way, look at where your arms go. It feels very weird to have wrist extension, like too much this way, when we're extending up here. That's just not going to happen. Likewise, it feels weird to just sort of flex on the downswing and put the arms there. It feels weird to have it bowed. So why does this happen? It's because we're not using the body correctly, and your instincts, your biomechanics as a natural occurrence will put you in these weak, poorer placements with the wrists. So yes, the better players have better body movements, so they have better wrist conditions. We improve our body movement, we improve the wrists, we improve consistency and reliability. Because yes, the wrists, the hands, they're very important for club face control, but they respond to what we are doing, our intentions with the body. And I'm going to show you what you need to feel instead. Try it right now. Get up, make a backswing, but don't move your body. Don't feel like you're rotating anything, and lift your arms up to here. Okay? You'll probably see yourself in this kind of cupped placement, right? Now, I want us to simply not try and move the wrist flatter this way, because that hurts. You can hear the strain in my body. The way we're going to fix this is allow more rotation in the legs and wind up that core. Hey presto, we have a neutral wrist now. We have depth, we have room to swing. This gets fixed when we move correctly here. It's as easy as that. And I want you to get up and try it now. Tell me what you experience. Experiment, exaggerate the feelings of, okay, not moving the body, where do the wrists go? Extending the body, where do the wrists go? And we need to start figuring out what it feels like to you to have just more fluid movement, that this is what's going to be the engine of your golf swing, so this works better. One of the best ways you can focus on this is lift your arms up, see where they are. Now allow ourselves to move behind and see that freedom of movement that you have. Don't restrict anything. We're not trying to separate the upper body to the lower body. We want it all to be working in harmony without that separation, to create that rotation, to give us the room. And we don't need to compensate. The wrist will stay flat. Another aspect that is very important to point out is a lot of times better golfers are also better athletes in general, either in former years, or they're more agile, more mobile, and can just move a little bit better. So we have to understand of what your limitations are compared to the pros or better golfers. But you can have better wrist conditions when we understand movement properly. The best way to get good at this game is to exaggerate certain feelings. Exaggerate no body, see what happens. What kind of strike are we getting there? And you'll start to compensate and adapt, but work on some rotation, getting behind ourselves, really feeling that extra movement this way. And if it feels a bit awkward, to really help emphasize this, there's a couple of ways we can do it. Try just splitting your feet up. So it's about toe to heel, a close stance, but right, your trail leg behind your left. And from here, it's going to be a little bit easier to clear ourselves behind this way. And I think you'll find that your wrist will end up being pretty damn neutral from back here, okay? And you can make a nice smooth swing, getting that neutrality of the wrists, and have the wrist conditions like the pros. But it's the body doing it, not the minutia. Likewise, if you know you have a tendency to be a bit flexed and do this extension, the same feeling is going to be feeling like we're getting a bit more emphasis on rotating this way behind. Okay, it's almost creating a bit of resistance here, so we have to kind of combat it a little bit, allowing ourselves to pivot as one unit to stop that extension. Because if I'm in this stance and I end up sort of lifting this way, I'm going to lose balance. But if I stand here and allow myself to rotate behind, I'm balanced, and look, I've got that neutral wrist, and we can just swing through. Nice, easy tap swings, but this is all working correctly. The Hackmotion is a great way to emphasize this and to help figure out where you are, but start working on a better body movement, and you will have better club face control and more consistency without having to necessarily work on the club face control and consistency. Low hanging fruit, move better, you'll strike it better. Thanks for watching.